Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm excited to be posting my second video for you. This still feels weird and slightly uncomfortable, but here we go. So I had a really great idea to talk to you guys about how I run with fibromyalgia because I am a runner. And then I had a pretty big chronic fatigue attack. I don't know what you want to call it this week. And so I'm having a hard time getting anything done besides going to work and, taking care of Java and myself. So that didn't happen. So I thought I would actually answer a different question because I've had a lot of questions about how I run with fibromyalgia, how I mitigate the pain in order to do that. Did you hear Java squeak? She's right here. You're so cute. But I decided that this week instead I would answer the question of how I was diagnosed. And my diagnosis process was probably a lot different from most of you. I'm really curious to know how the rest of you were diagnosed, and I'd love to hear about it. If you want to drop a comment below, if you want to DM me, find me on Instagram. I'm curious. I would like to know because I honestly don't know how most people get diagnosed these days. So I'd love to know how you guys are getting diagnosed. So I need you to keep in mind that I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia about 17 and a half years ago. And so I was 19 at the time, and I was in my second year of college, and like most college students, I didn't have a specific doctor I went to. I always went to a walk-in clinic. Now, I need to take a step back here and remind you too that fibromyalgia was not something that was common at the time. In fact, 10 to 15 years prior, people were still being put in insane asylums if they complained of the pain that we now know as fibromyalgia, because according to modern science, there's nothing wrong with us. They can't actually tell that there's anything wrong with us, and even though we're complaining about uncontrollable chronic pain, there's no test that they can do to prove that we have this pain and to prove that we're not lying and that it's not just all in our heads. So people would be put into insane asylums. So when I was diagnosed, it was really rare for someone at 19 to be diagnosed. Most people who had it at the time were 50 and up, and the majority of them were women. So it was interesting. There wasn't a lot of literature about it. I had never heard the word before. Nowadays, it seems that everyone at least knows someone or knows someone who knows someone with fibromyalgia. So it's a very different world that we live in now when people are being diagnosed. So when I was diagnosed, I went to a walk-in clinic, and they ran a whole bunch of tests, most of them blood tests. They ruled everything else out that it could possibly be, and then said, "We're very sorry, you have fibromyalgia. You're gonna have pain for the rest of your life. There's nothing we can do. You're probably also depressed. Good luck." And I went, what? They offered me no help, no advice. There was nothing. So I'll get into how my mom and I kind of fought to give myself an okay life eventually in a follow-up video, but that was the start of my diagnosis process. A couple of years later, it was starting to become a little bit more common. Maybe it was becoming a little bit more common, or maybe I was just more aware of it now. Maybe that's the thing. I'm not really sure what it was, and it doesn't really matter. But people would start talking about this 13 point process. So it has to do with pressure points on your body, and I think it's if 11 out of 13 of them caused you extreme pain, then you had fibromyalgia. And that was like the big test to prove that you had fibromyalgia. And people would ask me if I had gone through that, and I hadn't. And I kind of, part of me felt a little bit like a fraud. I was like, is it all in my head? Am I just crazy, for lack of a better word? And it was really hard to continue on through life with this thing that people had told me that I knew I had, but other people and some doctors even didn't actually believe that it was real. I even had a family member say to me that what I have, that my pain isn't actually real, and that I'm just using it to manipulate people out of money. Like, it's really nice. Yeah, it's like a warm hug. So a couple of years ago, I went out to Vancouver. I live in Toronto. I flew through Calgary to pick up my mom, and we went to Vancouver, and I did something called brain mapping. It was through the Swingle Clinic, if you're interested in looking it up. Dr. Swingle himself is the person who basically created this, and they help out a lot of people that have Alzheimer's and brain injuries and people with fibromyalgia. And you don't go in telling them what's wrong. They do a couple of base tests, and they're looking at different percentages of, they have a couple of, oh, what are they called? They put those little like pods on your head, and they're testing kind of brain stimulation. And there's a whole bunch of different base tests that they do. And then you go in and you talk to one of these psychologists. And I had Dr. Swingle, bless his heart. He's just like a happy old grandpa is what he looks like. He's really sweet. And I walked in and he had no idea why I was there. And he just looked at me and he looked at my chart, and then with a really just kind of gentle smile, he said, "You're in a lot of pain, aren't you?" And you guys, I just started sobbing. Something inside of me just broke. And he just kind of said, it's real, Dina. And I just went, oh my gosh, like I'm tearing up right now actually, because for so long I felt I was starting to believe that I was not right in the head, you know? And for him to look at this factual thing and be able to tell me that what I was feeling, what I knew to be true, but what so many other people and doctors were trying to convince me wasn't, something in me broke, and there was just this relief, and I just went, wow, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. And that is my diagnosis story. It's really, I didn't know that I needed that, but it was really important for me to actually have a medical professional say to me that they believed what I had was real. And now in Toronto, I have a phenomenal family doctor who fully believes that fibromyalgia is a real thing and is helping me to work through it and to move forward with it. She's also very accepting of the fact that I worked closely with a naturopath. That doesn't freak her out at all. And they kind of work hand in hand to help me out, which is really, really great. So I have a really great team behind me now, but it's taken me a while to get there. That's my diagnosis story. I'd really like to hear about yours. I want to know the challenges, the triumphs. I'm really curious to know. And I'm always open if you have any questions about what I've gone through or anything like that. And I'll see you guys next week. Please hit subscribe, give this video a like, feel free to share it with people, and yeah, I'll see you next week with more information about how I'm doing and what I'm doing to mitigate my pain and all of that fun stuff. And maybe next week you'll actually get to see Jav as well. She's just curled up right here, very happy. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.